Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tastyworks tutorial series. In today's video, we're going to be doing a step-by-step tutorial of the Tastyworks desktop platform. I will say there is a lot to cover and many different features to go over, but in today's video, I'm going to focus on the things I think you're actually going to be using on a daily basis. That's going to include stuff like the overall navigation of the platform, how to create and customize your own watch lists, how to place trades on both stock and options, how to utilize and customize your own charts, and some various other tools that I think you guys might find useful. Now, I will say that this is definitely going to end up being a long video, so please use the timestamps down below in the description if you need to jump ahead to a specific topic. I'll also mention before I get started that if you guys are already planning on opening a Tastyworks account already and want to help me out a little bit, my little account link is down below in the comment section. Click on that, open your account from there, and it gives me a little bit of credit. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the tutorial, starting with the overall navigation of the app, and it's actually easier than it may look. First off, you're probably going to notice a side panel on the left-hand side that displays a watch list of all the companies you want to keep track of. Just to the right of that watch list is your main navigational tabs that will change your dynamic window on the right-hand side. That's going to include your positions page, which shows you all of your open positions, your open orders, and is basically just a reflection of what is going on in your account right now. Just below that, we've got the Trade tab, which is how we're actually going to access our option chain, our analysis tools, and some various other gadgets up here at the top that could come in handy later down the line. Below the Trade page is going to be the Activity tab, which is simply a breakdown of all of our past trading activity in the account. And then finally, right below that, we do have our Charts page right down here below as well. Besides those main navigational tabs, it's also important to mention that all of your account info can be seen at the very top of the account page up here. This is going to allow you to always keep track of the overall value of your account, your available buying power, and how much you're up or down overall in the account. If you ever want to get rid of that account info section, you can always come over here to the top right and click on Accounts, and that section will disappear. Now, don't worry, we're going to discuss each one of these tabs later in the video, but let's first start off with how to create and customize our own watch list on this left-hand side panel over here. So right off the bat, at the very top of this panel, you can see the watch list that I'm currently looking at. So right now I'm looking at my options watch list. Now in that watch list down below, you can see I've got companies like American Airlines, Apple, AMD, Amazon, and just to the right of each of those stock tickers, you can see it displays the current bid and asking price for those stocks, the change for the day, as well as the percent change for the day. In order for us to access additional watch lists that we've created, or even the watch list that Tastyworks has made for us, all we have to do is come up here to this drop-down menu. Once we click on that menu, we can see all of the watch lists that Tastytrade has for us by default, and then all of our watch lists down here below this kind of horizontal line. Now, as of right now, I only have one watch list that I've made for myself, and it's called Options. But if we wanted to access another one, like let's say a Tastytrade watch list, we can come up here. Looking to the right, we can see that there's one called Companies Near Their 52-Week Low. Let's go ahead and click on that one. Once we do click on it, we can see it's a completely new list. Things like American Airlines, Airbnb, Aurora Cannabis, and all of these companies are near their 52-week low right now. Now, if we wanted to make our own watch list, it's actually pretty easy to do, and all we have to do is come up here to the little gear icon in the upper right-hand corner of our watch list. As soon as we click on that, we can see a settings menu comes up, and as of right now, I'm on the left sidebar tab. Now we're going to get to this in a minute. This is where we can actually change the displayed columns that we're looking at, but in this case, we want to make a brand new watch list. So what I need you to do is click on the List tab. From here, we can see some buttons on the right-hand side, things like add a new list, clone a list, and delete the selected list that we have open. But in our case, since we want to make a brand new one, we're going to come up here and click on add a new list. As soon as we do, a little window pops up on the left asking us to create a new watch list name. In our case, let's just go ahead and click in there and name this watch list the Practice watch list. So we'll just go ahead and type that in. And now that I've got the name set, all we have to do is add a single symbol to this watch list to actually create the watch list. So the very first symbol I'm going to add is actually going to be square. So I'm going to come up here and type in SQ in the search box and click on it in the list here. The next thing I'm going to do is come down here to the Add Square to Practice Watch List button and just go ahead and click on that. That's going to both create the practice watch list for us and add square the symbol to that watch list. Now that I've done that, we're going to come down here to the OK button in the lower left-hand corner and go ahead and click on that. So now that the watch list has actually been made, all we have to do is come up here to the drop-down menu, click on the list here, come over here to that drop-down menu and find the new watch list we just made called Practice Watch List, and we're going to go ahead and click on that. And there we go, we now have the practice watch list open, and as of right now, all I have is Square in this watch list, but I can see what it's currently trading for, how much it's up or down for the day, and it looks like it's not doing so hot this morning. But if we wanted to add additional symbols to this watch list, from now on, all we have to do is look at the very bottom of this watch list for the Add Symbol button. This kind of speaks for itself, but if we wanted to add a new symbol, we simply need to click in this box, type in the symbol we want to add, find it, and click on it. So in our case, let's say we wanted to add Microsoft, so we're going to type in MSFT. We'll find it in the list here, go ahead and click on it, and then hit the little plus sign on the right-hand side. As soon as I do that, you can see Microsoft has now been added. We can see it's also down pretty significantly today, down $10.32. But I think you guys get the idea. We simply need to come down here to the add symbol box, type in what we want to add, in this case Facebook, click on it, and hit the little plus sign here. Now that we got that out of the way, how to actually add symbols to this watch list and create new ones, let's go over how we can change these column headers up at the top and add information that we find very useful for us. To do that, all we have to do is come up here to the settings button again, the little gear icon. So go ahead and click on that. Just like before, it brings up the settings menu, and we're on the left sidebar tab, and we're actually going to stay on this tab for this one. Down below on the left-hand side in the displayed section, we can see all of the column headers we currently have, like bid and ask, net change, and percent change. And then just to the right of that in the not displayed section, we can see all of the columns that we could add to our watch list section. We can see things like last traded price, we can see mid price, IV percentile, we could even add beta or dividend yield. But if I scroll through this list, you'll see there are a lot of different column headers that we could add. Now in my case, I'm an options trader, so let's say something I find important is going to be IV percentile, so I want to go ahead and drag that over to the left. And I also want to know the overall beta for this position, so we're going to go ahead and click on that and drag it over as well. Now in this displayed section, we can also drag and drop where we want these columns to be. So let's say I wanted beta to be ahead of IV percentile. I can go ahead and click and drag that, move it where I want it. And then once I'm happy, we'll simply hit OK in the lower left-hand corner of this menu. And now our watch list columns have been adjusted. Now it might not look like it right now, but that's because those new columns can't quite fit in this box that we have. So that's what this little circle is up here for, telling us there's actually a second page now to this watch list. And you saw as soon as I clicked on that arrow, we can now see the beta and IV percentile column added to our watch list page. And another thing we could do if we didn't want to have to toggle between those is simply drag our watch list to the right and make enough room for those two columns. You also have the ability to sort your stocks based off these columns. Now, right now I'm sorting it by the symbol, which just means I'm sorting it in alphabetical order. But I could also adjust it by, let's say, the net change for the day. I want to see the biggest losers first. So now that's Microsoft, Facebook, and Square. Or if I wanted to arrange it by the biggest percentage losers first, I could come over here to percent change and click on that. And now I'm seeing that actually Square is down more than Microsoft in percentage terms. Now let's say later down the line you decided to get rid of beta and IV percentile. All you would have to do is come back up here to the gear icon, click on that, come over here to the displayed column and drag those columns back over to the not displayed section. We can now see that all we have is bid, ask, net change, and percent change over here in the displayed section. Once we hit OK, we can see that those two columns have been removed from our watch list. So you can see creating and customizing your own watch list in here is not too tricky. Once you've made your own watch list, you just need to come up here to the drop-down menu, find it, click on it, and then if you ever want to edit the columns being displayed, just come up here to the gear icon, find what you want to add it, and hit OK. Now one last thing I'll mention is how to delete these watch lists if you ever want to get rid of them and start fresh. So we could come back over here to the list page. We can then come down here and select the watch list we want to delete. Right now I actually already have practice watch list in there, which is the one I want to delete in this case. From there, we could actually then look over here to the right where it says delete selected list. We could click on that. We could then confirm that we actually do want to delete this watch list, just hit yes. And now that watch list has been deleted. So now when we come over here, hit OK, come up here to the drop-down menu, you can see that that practice watch list is no longer in our list of results. So now that we got that out of the way, now you guys feel comfortable creating and customizing your own watch lists, let's move on to another big important piece of this tutorial, and that's how to actually place stock and options trades in here. Now starting with trading the underlying stock itself, it's actually not too difficult, but I will say there are many different ways to do that in the Tastyworks platform. The first and simplest way is to simply click on the corresponding bid or asking price of the stock that you want to buy or sell. So for example, if I get rid of that little drop-down menu for a second, we can again see that we've got the bid and the ask columns in our watch list right now. Looking down below, I can see AMD is trading for 111.26 by 111.30, If I wanted to buy some shares of AMD right now, all I would have to do is click on the asking price. So if I go ahead and click on the asking price, you can see that the trade page immediately gets pulled up, and as of right now, we're looking at the option chain for AMD. But more importantly, an order ticket pops up at the very bottom of our screen. Now, breaking down this order ticket for a second here, on the left-hand side, we can see that the buy button is highlighted, which means we want to buy some shares of AMD. We can see that the quantity box currently says 100 shares, so we're saying we want to buy 100 shares of stock. To the right of that, we've got the current limit price in there set as 111.23, and we could lock that in to stop it from moving with the current price. To the right of that, we can see the order type currently selected is a limit order, and then to the right of that, we can see the time in force is currently marked as a day order. Now, breaking down this order ticket for a second, let's first go through the different order types that are available. So let's go ahead and click on this word limit here. Once I do click on it, you can see the other order types available are market orders, stop market orders, and stop limit orders. Starting with a market order, that simply means we want to buy or sell these shares immediately, and we'll take whatever the current price is. Now, technically with a market order, you don't know exactly what you're going to fill at, but you're going to basically fill at whatever the current asking price is when you're buying or the current bid price when you're selling. Now, right below that, a limit order simply means we are going to specify a price. So let's say we only wanted to buy these shares of AMD if it dropped down to $100 a share. That would be an example of a limit order. We're telling Tastyworks, you better not buy these shares of AMD unless you can get them for me at $100 or better. Now below that, we can also see stop market and stop limit orders. Now I will say that these are typically used to close you out of positions you already hold when things are going against you. So think of it like we already have shares of AMD in our account. And again, AMD we can see is currently trading for about $110.50. Let's say if AMD ever went down to $100, we wanted to get stopped out because we didn't want to lose any more money on this trade. That would be an example of a stop order. Now you can also use it on a short position that you hold. That would be an example of a buy stop. But generally it's used to stop you out of your position when you're losing too much money. Some people will use these to open up new positions, maybe to find a breakout. But for the vast majority of you guys watching this, you will use it to close your open position when things are going against you. I want to emphasize that. Moving off of that, the time in force box, which currently says day, if we go ahead and click on that, you're then going to see all of the time in force options available to us. Now, first off, a day order. That simply means we want this order ticket good for the regular market session today, so 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If this order ticket does not fill by 4 p.m., just go ahead and cancel the order. The next one down would be a good until cancel order, saying, hey, if it does not fill by 4 p.m. today, try again tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, try again the next day, and so on until it fills or until I come in here and cancel it myself. Right below that is the GTD, which just stands for good till date. It's very similar to good until canceled, except with GTD, you can specify a date that you want to cancel it. So let's say if it hasn't filled by February 15th, you just want to cancel the order, just don't try anymore. That would be an example of a GTD, or good till February 15th in this case. The next one down is an EXT order, which simply means I want it also good for the pre-market, regular market, and post-market. So this is going to be good for all 3 sessions today, but if it does not fill by the end of the post-market, just go ahead and cancel the order. Now that we explained all of the different order types, the time and force boxes, let's actually go through an example trade here. Looking over here on the left-hand side, you can currently see that I'm trying to buy 100 shares of AMD. Let's say I wanted to drop that down. I actually only wanted to buy 1 share of AMD, so we're going to highlight that quantity box and type in 1. And for this order ticket, I do want to use a limit order because I want to specify a price, and I actually only want to buy the share of AMD if it drops down to $100 even. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that price there and type in $100. Next up, I'm actually going to leave this time in force as a day order, saying if this does not happen by 4 p.m. today, just go ahead and cancel the order. Don't try again tomorrow. If I'm happy with the order ticket, we'll simply hit review and send, and this is where we can get our confirmation screen. This is just going to confirm what we already entered in the previous screen, saying we want to buy 1 share of AMD, we want to pay $100 a share for it, and it's going to cost us $100 because that's the total cost of the trade. If we were happy with it and we actually wanted to submit this order, we would simply hit send order in the bottom right-hand corner. So let's just do that for some practice here. So send order. As soon as I did that, you should have seen a little pop-up in the upper left saying I did place the order and it's currently working. And if I wanted to confirm that, or maybe I even wanted to cancel that order, I could simply come up here to the positions page, which remember is where I told you can see all of the positions, all of the trades happening right now in your account. Now that I've got the positions page open, I can see my working order right up here at the top to buy 1 share of AMD at a limit price of $100 even. Just to the left of that, you can see that it's currently trading at 110.47, which is why it hasn't filled yet. AMD will need to drop $10.50 before I get a fill on this trade. Now let's say I changed my mind, I wanted to cancel this working order, I would simply need to right-click on the order itself. From there, it brings up a little drop-down menu with a few different options, but in this case, we're simply going to click on Cancel Order to cancel the order. So let's go ahead and click on that. You can now see that the order has been canceled, it's no longer working, and now you can only see my current positions in the account. Now I want to get a little bit more practice with that, so let's go back to the trade page for a second. Now let's say for this next example, instead of us wanting to buy shares of AMD, we instead wanted to short stock of, let's say, Coinbase. So what I'm going to do is come over here to my watch list and we're going to click on coin right here. And you'll notice that my option chain changes to Coinbase as soon as I clicked on it. Also up here at the top, we can now see I've got coin up here. I can see the current IV rank, 83.9. And most importantly, for what we're about to do, we can also see the current bid and asking price, 186.52 by 186.82. Now remember, like I said before, anywhere you see a bid or an asking price in this platform, if you click on one of those numbers, it will auto-generate an order ticket. So up here at the top, if I wanted to short some shares of Coinbase right now, I could just click on the bid price, 187.09. As soon as I clicked on that, you can see the order ticket pops up down below to short that position of Coinbase. Looking from left to right, you can see the short button is now highlighted in red, and the quantity box says a negative number, which means we are selling shares of stock that we don't own. Just like before, if we wanted to only sell, let's say 10 shares of Coinbase, let's just go ahead and delete one of those zeros out of there. And let's say we only wanted to short this position if it went up to 195. We thought that would be a good entry point. So we'll go ahead and throw in 195 here. And if I wanted this order, let's say good until canceled, I could go ahead and click on this and change it to GTC. Next up, if I was to hit the review and send button, it would then give me my order confirmation saying I'm about to short 10 shares of Coinbase. It's going to cost me about $1,950. And probably most importantly, right here in red, it says my account does not have sufficient buying power in order to actually do this trade. But if you actually wanted to submit it, everything looked right. Again, just like before, you would hit the send order button down below and the order would be submitted. Now, since we don't actually want to do that, let's go ahead and go back to clear order and get that order ticket off of our screen. Now, I'm not going to get into it in today's video, but I will also mention that a lot of people will use the active trader button up here at the top to very quickly go in and out of stock positions. Or they may also use the grid button right here to simultaneously look at a chart while also being able to buy and sell the stock. So again, there are many different ways to buy and sell stock in this platform, but the simplest is to simply click on the bid or asking price of the stock you want to buy or sell. And now that we got that out of the way, I think you guys will feel comfortable buying and selling stock on here. Let's move on to trading options next. So first off, we need to come back over here to the trade page and make sure we have the table menu selected. As soon as I do that, you can now see that I've got the option chain pulled up for Coinbase in this case. And for those of you who have not been here before, I'm going to spend the next few minutes just describing what you're actually seeing in front of you right now. So right off the bat, the first thing we can see is all of the expiration dates that are available for Coinbase. So that's going to be on the left-hand side, things like January 28th, February 4th, February 11th, February 18th, and the rest of them down below. Now, just to the right of some of those expiration dates, you're going to see a little orange W. Now, all that is telling you is that those options are weekly expirations. The ones without the W are the standard monthly contracts. And really, the only difference between the two is the fact that the weekly contracts are usually going to be a little bit less liquid than the monthly contracts. And really, the only reason for that is because the monthly contracts have existed for potentially years, whereas the weeklies have only existed for up to 7 weeks at a time. But other than that, they're going to trade the exact same way, they're going to expire at the exact same time. Really, liquidity is the only difference between the two. Now, moving off of that and looking to the right in the center column, we can see the number of days until expiration. So 3 days, 10 days, 17 days. Moving further to the right, we can also see the implied volatility for each of those expirations, as well as the implied move for that expiration. So using one of these guys as an example, we can see that this is the February 18th expiration, which is 24 days from today. That expiration currently has an implied volatility of 104.4% and an implied move of $34.50. Now, before I actually open up one of these option chains, the last thing I'll mention is this purple line going horizontally through our screen. That is simply denoting the earnings date for this particular stock. So for Coinbase, they announce earnings on February 8th, right after the market closes. Now from there, once we've actually decided which one of these expirations we want to trade, we simply need to click on it to actually open up the option chain. So in my case, I just clicked on the February 18th expiration, and as soon as I did, I can now see all of the available strike prices listed right down here in the middle. So we can see the 135 strike, the 140, the 145, the 150, and many, many more listed down there below. If I wanted to be able to see all of the available strikes for Coinbase, I could always come up here to the top right-hand corner where it says strikes 20. I could click on that drop-down menu and select how many I want to see. In my case, I'm happy with 20 being visible, so I'm going to leave it set to 20. But as you saw, you have the ability to expand it to all available if you need to. Now, moving on from that, to the left of all of those strikes are the call options that are available. To the right of those strikes are the put options. Now, you might also notice that some of them are lighter shading than others. The lighter shaded options are the ones that are in the money. The darker shaded ones are the ones that are out of the money. Now, that shading is pretty subtle, so for those of you who can't tell the difference between the in the money and the out of the money based on the shading, there is also an orange horizontal line going right down the center. That is also going to differentiate the in the money versus the out of the money options on both the puts and the calls. Moving off of that, you'll also notice these blue horizontal dash lines going through our screen, and those are standard deviation lines. So this blue one that I've got my mouse on currently is a 1 standard deviation move to the downside. If we scroll down, or actually if I expand my strikes out a little bit further, we could see 1 standard deviation to the upside. Now, scrolling back up to the at the money options, the last thing I'll mention is this orange bar that you see to the right of some of these strike prices. All that's reflecting is the implied move for this expiration. So remember, looking back in the upper right-hand corner, the implied move for February 18th is plus or minus about $32. And that's exactly what this orange bar is encompassing, plus or minus $32 from the current price of Coinbase. Now, the last thing I'll mention before we actually get into the process of buying and selling options in here is these column headers up here at the top. Now, these columns display a lot of good information that you're definitely going to want to know how to use, and right off the bat, you can see I'm currently looking at out of the money percentage, theta, delta, and the volume of contracts traded so far today. Besides that, you can also see the bid and the asking price for each of the calls and the puts, but those two have to stay the same. The ones that we have the ability to edit are going to be these ones to the left: volume, delta, theta, and out of the money. Now, to change those, all you have to do is click on the one that you want to change. So let's say we no longer wanted to look at volume. We can go ahead and click on that one. And as soon as we do, a little menu pops up with all of the different options available to us. From there, we can see options like gamma, vega, open interest, in the money percentage, and many, many more. But in our case, let's just go ahead and flip it over to open interest. So once we do that, we can see it flips over on both the call side as well as the put side. So they are mirrors of one another. Now, I think that just about covers everything you needed to know about the overall appearance and the numbers, the metrics of the option chain itself. So let's go ahead and go through the process of buying and selling options in this platform. And I will say that it is very similar to how we traded stock earlier on this platform. Anytime we want to buy an option, we click on the asking price. Anytime we want to sell an option, we click on the bid price. So for this first example, we think Coinbase is going up. We want to go long a call option in this case. And we look down at the 205 strike price because that looks appealing to us. Since we want to buy a call option, we're going to look on the left-hand side here and see it's currently going for 1090 by 1180. Since we want to buy the call in this example, we're going to go ahead and click on that asking price there, $11.80. As soon as we do, you can see it gets highlighted in green, telling us we're about to buy this call option. And then more importantly, just like before with the stock, we can see the order ticket down here below. Going through this order ticket from left to right, we can see we're about to buy one of the February 18th, 205 calls, and you can see it says BTO, which simply means buy to open. To the right of that, we can see the price that we want to buy this thing for. Right now we're saying $11.70, but we could always drop that down to, let's say, $11 if we wanted to try to get it at a more competitive offer. To the right of that, we can change the order types just like before. We can change the time in force. And then when we're happy with it, we would simply hit review and send if we actually wanted to submit it. But backing up for a second, something that's visible on Tastyworks that I haven't seen other places is this little informational bar up here at the top of the order ticket. Right up there, you can see a bunch of different metrics, and it's giving us a lot of information about this option we're about to buy. The first metric we see up there at the top is POP, or probability of profit. As of right now, it's telling us that there is a 25% chance we're going to make at least 1 penny on this transaction. So if we were to buy it for $11, there is a 25% chance that I could sell it for $11.01 later down the line. Now moving to the right, we can see the extrinsic value left in this contract right now is $1,100, telling me that if I hold this option till expiration, $1,100 in value will be coming out of it. Next one up there you can see is P50, or probability of getting 50% profit on this trade. And right now it says there is a 52% probability of us closing this out at a 50% profit. Now I will say that this metric makes more sense with spreads or with short options, but it could come in handy later down the line. Next up there, we've got delta, which is telling us our overall bullish or bearish bias on this transaction we're about to put on. In this case, the delta is currently 39.92, telling me that if I were to buy this call option right now and Coinbase were to go up $1 single, I would make $39.92 on this trade. To the right of that, I can see the overall theta on this transaction, which right now is negative 33, telling me I'm losing about 33 bucks a day due to time decay. To the right of that, we can see the max profit potential for this trade, which right now says infinite. And that's because we're just buying a long call, and theoretically, there's no limit to where Coinbase could go. It could go to 200, 300, 400, and as it continues to go up, we could continue making money. Now, in reality, it's more like our max profit is undefined. We don't know how much we could make, but that's what that little icon represents, infinite profit potential. To the right of that, we can see our max loss on this trade is going to be 1,100 bucks because that's the absolute most we could ever lose. And in this case, it's exactly what we're paying for it. To the right of our max loss, we can see the BP effect, which is basically how much money we need in this account to actually do this trade right now. And in this case, we need 1,100 bucks. Now, this informational column can be incredibly helpful, especially as we bump up the number of contracts that we're trading. So right now I've got one contract in here. Let's say I came up here to the quantity buttons and I hit this arrow a few times and I bumped it up to 5 contracts. You're going to notice that a whole bunch of these pieces of information have adjusted. First off, our extrinsic value is now 5,500 bucks because that's what's going to be coming out between now and expiration across all 5 contracts. To the right of that, we can see our delta has now increased quite a bit. Our overall delta is now 205.82. So we are now much more bullish on Coinbase because now if Coinbase were to go up $1, we would make 205 bucks. Or if Coinbase goes down $1, we will lose 205 bucks. To the right of that, we can see our theta is also much higher. We are now losing 170 bucks a day due to time decay. And again, that's assuming if Coinbase doesn't go in our direction. But that's a pretty high theta number, so you would look at that and go, oof, I really got to have this stock move in my favor, otherwise time decay is just eating away at me every single day. Moving further to the right, we can see our max profit is still infinite, but now our max loss is 5,500 bucks because we are now spending 1,100 bucks per contract and we're doing 5 of them. So this page can really show you a lot of good info before you even put on the trade. See if the probabilities and the risk-reward structure make sense before you actually put it on. Now you also have the ability to drag this strike price up or down if you wanted to. So let's say we changed our mind. Instead of wanting to buy the 205s, we wanted to check out the 200s. So we could go ahead and click that and drag it on up. From there, we can see that our max loss is increased, our delta's increased a little bit, as well as our theta going down a little bit. If we were to click on that and drag it up even further, we can see how that changes the overall risk profile for this transaction. You can see as I move it up to 160, my extrinsic value actually went down because it's not all made up of extrinsic value anymore. Some of it is intrinsic value, real value that if Coinbase stays exactly where it's at, will still be there in a couple weeks from now. But again, you can drag and drop this strike and see how the new metrics affect the trade and pick which one you actually want to do. Now, moving off of that, if we wanted to do this on the put side, it would be the exact same process. We would simply find the put we wanted to buy. So in this case, let's say we were looking at the 160 puts. Looking to the right, we can see they're going for 710 by 750. Since we want to buy this put option, we'll go ahead and click on the asking price. From there, it gets highlighted in green just like before because we are still buying this put, but now we are betting on the stock price going down in value. That is also made apparent by our overall delta, which is now a negative number, telling us that we have a bearish bias on this position. We want it to go down, and every dollar it goes down, we're making 22 bucks. To the right of that, we can still see that theta is going against us, so we are still losing money due to time decay, and we're losing about 29 bucks a day. If we instead wanted to sell options, let's go ahead and clear this out of here, and let's pretend we wanted to sell a put option because we were neutral to bullish. For this one, we thought Coinbase was going to stay above 130 for the next couple weeks, so we're looking at the 130 put, and we want to sell it. So we want to collect this $2.35 in credit, so we're going to go ahead and click on the bid. This time you can see it gets highlighted in red, telling us that we're about to sell this option. Down below in the order ticket, you can also see it says -1, again telling us we're about to sell to open this contract. The number we see in the center here is now a credit that we will be receiving. And if we look up here in the informational column, a lot looks different. So first off, the probability of profit is 91%. So right now there is a 91% chance that we'll at least make 1 penny on this trade. To the right of this, we can see extrinsic value is now a positive number because this is actually benefiting us. If we hold this contract all the way till expiration, $230 of extrinsic value will be coming out, which is going to help us make some money. To the right of that, we can see the probability of getting at least 50% profit on this trade is also 91%. Moving on, we can see the delta is positive, so this is a bullish trade, but it has a very low delta, hence why I said neutral to bullish earlier. To the right of that, we can see theta is a positive number, which means we are benefiting from time decay, and we're making about $16.64 a day. Next up, we can see the max profit potential is exactly what we receive in the credit, so $230 in potential profit, whereas our max loss is $12,770. Now that would be the absolute worst case scenario. If Coinbase were to go to $0 a share, this is how much we would lose by doing this trade. Now to the right of that, we can see the BP effect, how much money I would actually need to put on this trade. And since I have full options approval in this account, the BP effect is quite a bit lower than what you would need for a cash secured put. If you do not have full options approval and you wanted to sell the 130 put, you would need roughly $13,000 in capital to do this trade. Whereas if you have full options approval, you can see the BP effect is significantly lower. I only have to put up $3,500 versus $13,000. Now doing this on the call side would be the exact same process. We would just clear out this order ticket. We'd find the call we wanted to sell, so let's say the 205 calls, and we'd come over to the left-hand side and click on the bid price just like before. Just like in the previous example, it gets highlighted in red. It says we're selling one and we're collecting $11.70 in credit. So I think you guys get the hang of how to create single leg options in here. So let's move on to how to create a spread in here. And we're only going to use one example. So let's go ahead and clear this out of here. And let's say for this example, I wanted to put on a short vertical put spread. And in my case, I wanted to sell the 155 and buy the 140 to create a 15-point wide vertical put spread. To do this, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did in the previous example. And since I want to start with selling the 155, I'm going to go ahead and click on the bid price. From there, I'm then going to look at the 140 put. And since I want to buy this one, I'm going to go ahead and click on the asking price. So what we are now saying is we want to sell to open one of the 155 puts while simultaneously buying to open one of the 140 puts. And remember, these both have to fill at the exact same time. It's impossible for one to fill without the other also filling. From here, we can now see what our probability of profit is, our delta, our theta. We can see how much buying power we'd need to do this trade. And if we actually wanted to submit it, we would just hit review and send down here below. This confirmation screen is just going to confirm what we already input in the previous screen, saying we want to sell one put vertical. We're going to collect $265 in credit for doing this. And we would need $1,237 in order to actually place this trade if we wanted to. But I think you guys get the idea. Creating spreads in here is actually very easy. You just need to click on the corresponding bid or ask of the options you want to buy or sell. So the same thing would be done for an iron condor. It's just we would pick 4 different legs. So in the case of an iron condor, let's click on the bid of the 150, ask of the 140, and then do the exact same thing on the call side. And there we go. We just created an iron condor, a 10-point wide iron condor between 150 and 200. Another cool tool on this tab is the curve page, which we're not really going to touch on, but if you click on this, it would actually show you the risk profile for the trade we're about to put on, exactly how we could make or lose money on this trade. Now I'm going to save this tool for a more in-depth tutorial later down the line, but I wanted you guys to know that it's here. So let's go back to the table for a second. And since we don't actually want to place this trade, let's go ahead and hit clear. Now, I think that just about covers how to buy and sell options in this platform. I think you guys should have a good idea how to do it after that. Moving off of this, let's come back up here to the positions page. And we already discussed it. This is your account overview page. What is going on in my account right now? Breaking this down a little bit more in depth, we can see my current positions here. And if I click on it, we can actually see what I currently have. In this account, all I have is 1 share of Palantir, which I bought for $18.24. To the right of that, you can see the current bid and ask for the stock, $12.91 by $12.92, and you can see I'm down 48 cents today. From this page, not only do you have the ability to see what is going on in your account, but you can also manage your positions from here as well. So let's say I wanted to protect myself further to the downside on Palantir, and I wanted to put in a stop at $10. All I would have to do from this page is simply right-click on my share quantity right here. As soon as I do, you can see a little drop-down menu comes up, giving me 3 separate options to simply close the position, go to an analysis page, or create a bracket order. Now in my case, I simply want to close this position, so I'm going to click on Close Position. From there, it takes you to a page you should already be familiar with by now, and the order ticket is at the very bottom. From left to right, it's saying I simply want to sell this 1 share of Palantir, and right now it's set as a limit order. In my case, I want to adjust that, so I'm going to click on the word limit here, and I'm going to toggle it over to a stop market order. For this one, I wanted to put in a stop activation price of $10, basically saying if Palantir ever drops to $10 or lower, please get me out of this thing automatically. Now, I also want to stipulate that if this does not happen today, I want to keep protecting myself every single day. So I'm going to make this, instead of a day order, a good until cancel order. From there, the order ticket looks right. I'm happy with it. I'm going to hit review and send. I'm just going to double check everything. It all looks right. So I'm going to hit send order. As soon as I do, you can see the working order box popped up there in the left-hand corner. And now if I want to check on it, I can go to the positions page. From there, I can still see I've got my open position right here, 1 share of Palantir, but now down below that, I have a working order to sell that position. And looking to the right, I can see it's a stop with an activation price of $10, and the current price is $12.96, which is why it has not filled yet. Now going into this page a little bit more, you also have the ability to hide certain things. Like right now, if I didn't actually want to see my working orders, I just wanted to see my positions, I could uncheck working orders here. If I wanted to see those orders again, I would simply click on it again and it pops up. If I wanted to remove my positions and just see my working orders, I could highlight stocks here, and now I don't see the positions that I have. I could also do that with options or previously closed positions, but I think you guys get the idea. This is where you can kind of filter out what you're seeing on this page. Now, lastly, if we wanted to cancel this working order, again, we would simply right-click on the share quantity box right here, come over here to cancel order, and just click on that to cancel it. Moving off of the positions page, the next one we're going to talk about is the activity page. And like I mentioned before, this is simply a breakdown of our past trading activity in the account. So right here, you can see I've got working and filled orders highlighted. So all it's showing me is my previously filled orders or working orders that I have out there. And at the moment, I've got a 120-day filter. So it's showing me all of the trades that have filled in this account over the past 120 days. And it looks like there's only 3. You can see the furthest one back happened on January 4th at 9:23 in the morning. And what I did is buy 1 share of Palantir at $18.24. You can see then on January 13th, I bought to open one January 21st $14.50 call, and then I ended up selling it later on for 28 cents. So I made about $10 in profit on that trade. Just like with the positions page, if you wanted to filter these guys out by filled orders, we could uncheck that, and now I'm only seeing my working orders, which I don't have any. If I wanted to see cancel trades, I could go ahead and highlight that, and now I can see I've placed a lot of trades that I ended up canceling. But this page is pretty straightforward. It's just to see your past trading activity in the account. Moving off of this, we're going to go to the charts page next. And one way to access your charts is by coming down here and clicking on the little graph icon. As soon as we click on it, we can see it pulls up a Palantir chart. And if I look at the very top here, I can see I'm looking at a 1 year, 1 day chart, which means this chart goes back 1 entire year in time. And each one of these green and red candles represents 1 entire day of trading. To change the time frame that you're looking at, it's actually incredibly easy. We simply need to click on the time frame box and then select what we wanted to look at. So in our case, let's go up to today in this case. And the next thing we're going to do is change the aggregation period, what each one of these candlesticks represents. For this one, let's go ahead and change this from 8-hour candles to 1-minute candles. And now what we're looking at is today's trading activity, and each one of these green and red candles represents 1 minute of trading. Another thing to keep in mind is if you want to zoom in on your chart, all you have to do is scroll with the little scroll button in the center of your mouse. That'll scroll you in, and then scrolling back will scroll you out. You also have the ability to click and drag if you want to go further back in time, or drag it back to forward in time to our current time frame right here. And then if you want to add indicators to this chart, so technical indicators like moving averages or RSI or MACD, that kind of stuff, all you have to do is come up here to the upper left-hand corner where it says indicators. So for this example, let's go ahead and click on it. And what I want to do is add the 50 period and 200 period moving averages. So just come down here to the little search box and we're going to type in SMA here. We're going to find it in the list. We're going to click on it and we're going to hit add selected 2 times actually, because we want to add the 50 and the 200. Now that we did that, we can actually see our 2 SMA lines over here on the right. But what we need to do next is actually customize them. So as of right now, I've got the first one selected and I'm going to come down here to the length box and change this from 9 to 50 because I'm going to change it from the 9 period to the 50 period moving average. The next thing I'm going to do is actually change the color by clicking on the style line. From there, I can see the color box right here. I'm going to click on that and make it more of a brightish, like tealish color so it sticks out a little bit more. And I'm going to make the line a little bit thicker so I can see it a little bit better. Now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to move on to the second one, which is going to be our 200 period moving average. We're just going to do the exact same thing, highlight the length. We're going to type in 200 for this one. And I'm also going to change the style of the line to a more goldish color and make it a little bit thicker, just like the other one. And there we go. We have now added the 50 period and 200 period moving averages. But if you want to add any indicator, you would do it the exact same way. You simply need to come over here to the search box, find what you want to add, click on it, add it to the right. Once you're happy with what you've added, just click on the X button up here at the top, and now we can see our indicators and our chart. Now keep in mind, these indicators are referencing the time period that you have selected up here. So right now, I'm looking at a 1-minute chart, which means that this is actually the 50-minute versus 200-minute moving average. If I was to change this chart, let's say we wanted to go back to a 1 year, 1 day view. This now changes the indicators as well. These indicators are now the 50-day versus 200-day moving average. So the time period does matter for how it calculates these indicators. Another thing you guys might want to know how to do is actually draw trend lines or support and resistance lines. And to do that, it's actually pretty easy. All we have to do is come up here to the little box that says no tool currently. Go ahead and click on that. And from there, it brings up all of the different trend lines that you can create. In our case, we're just going to click on a regular trend line. Now that we have it selected, all we have to do is click on our 2 anchor points where we want to draw this line. So let's say we wanted to come down here to the bottom of this candlestick. We're going to go ahead and click on the bottom of that candle, start moving our mouse to the right, and we're going to click on the bottom of this candle to actually finish off our drawing. And there we go. It's as simple as that. We now have a trend line from this point to this point. If we wanted to draw a support and resistance line, we'll just come up here to no tool once again, click on the price level line, which is actually support and resistance. From there, we simply need to click where we want to draw the line. We'll start it right here, let's say. And there we go. We now have a support and resistance line right here at roughly 29.40, and then our trend line down here below. If you wanted to get rid of these trend lines, all you have to do is right-click on the line itself and then say remove drawings. We're then going to say yes, we do want to remove all the drawings, and now our screen is cleared out. The last thing I want to be sure to mention is how you can actually change the overall style of the chart itself. So right now you can see we're looking at a candlestick chart. But if you click on this little candlestick menu up here, you can see the other styles available to you. From there, you could click on a bar chart, you could click on a line chart, or you could click on an area chart, whichever one you prefer. And then finally, the settings menu up here does add a few other settings that you have the ability to change. So let's go ahead and click on that. From here, if you wanted to change the overall color scheme of your chart, you could come to the themes menu, and you can see that there are different themes right here: dark, light, or custom. And this is where you can select what makes the most sense for you, what you prefer. In my case, I prefer dark, so I'm going to go back to that. Another feature that I like to have open is the events page right here, and this is where I can actually make it show earnings on the chart as well as dividends. So I already have it checkmarked, but you guys might not have it. So all you would do is checkmark that box right there, and then once you have it, we can now see earnings announcements down here at the bottom. That's what that little blue circle with like the light bulb in the center of it is. It's also a very helpful tool in the fact that if I click on it, it will actually tell me how much they made that quarter. So in this case, they lost about 5 cents that quarter. If I go back to the previous quarter, you can say they lost 7 cents that quarter, and they lost 7 cents the previous quarter. If I were to pull up a stock that has dividends, let's say Apple in this case, you'll also notice little green circles with a dollar sign. So those are the dividends that the company paid. If I click on it, you can see they paid out 22 cents, and this was the ex-dividend date, November 5th. Now, I know that was a lot, and honestly, we didn't even cover everything that you can do in here, but that's just about everything you guys need to know right now to get started on the Tastyworks platform. If I did miss anything, or you guys have any additional questions for me that you'd like me to cover, please let me know down below. I will mention that I have made quite a few more in-depth tutorial videos on Tastyworks, so feel free to check out those if you guys are looking for more tutorials on option trading or creating bracket orders or really anything else on Tastyworks. And like I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you guys are already planning on opening an account and want to help me out a little bit, my link is down below in the comment section. Click on that, open your account from there, and it gives me a little bit of credit. But I know I've talked your guys' ears off at this point. I'm going to wrap things up here. I hope you guys all have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll catch you all in the next video.